Mr. Torres, I'm going to be direct with you. Your presence at graduation would be an embarrassment to Westmont Academy and a distraction from what should be your daughter's special day. Principal Victoria Ashford's voice was ice wrapped in silk, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against the mahogany desk in her corner office overlooking the pristine lawns of New England's most prestigious private high school. Miguel Torres, 47, sat in the visitor's chair wearing his work uniform navy blue coveralls with Torres Cleaning Services embroidered on the chest, his hands still carrying traces of the industrial cleaners he'd been using all morning to scrub floors in a downtown office building. His weathered face showed confusion more than anger, his accented English careful as he processed what the principal had just said. "I don't understand, ma'am. It's my daughter's graduation. I'm her father." "Why would I let me be frank, Mr. Torres?" Victoria interrupted, her smile sharp enough to draw blood. Westmont Academy's commencement ceremony is attended by some of the most influential families in New England. We have senators, CEOs, philanthropists sitting in that audience. The optics of having someone in, she gestured vaguely at his uniform with barely concealed distaste, work clothes, someone who quite obviously doesn't fit the Westmont community profile, creates an uncomfortable atmosphere. Miguel's hands tightened on the armrests of his chair, his knuckles going white. "I fit the profile of being Sophia's father. I'm the one who raised her after her mother died. I'm the one who worked 3 jobs so she could come to this school. I think that earns me a seat at her graduation." Victoria's expression didn't change. "No one's questioning your sacrifices, Mr. Torres. But Westmont Academy has a certain standard to maintain. Your daughter has done exceptionally well here, 4.2 GPA, full ride scholarship to Yale, and we're very proud of her. But your presence, given your circumstances, might overshadow her achievements. People might focus on the wrong things." The unspoken message rang clear. People might focus on you being poor, on you being working class, on you not belonging among the elite families who paid $58,000 per year in tuition. What Principal Victoria Ashford didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know because Miguel Torres was a humble man who never advertised his business or bragged about his success, was that the man sitting in her office in cleaning coveralls owned Torres Building Services, a company with 247 employees, $12 million in annual revenue, and contracts with half the major commercial buildings in Boston. What she really didn't know was that 2 days ago, Miguel had signed an agreement with the Westmont Academy Board of Trustees to establish the Torres Family Scholarship Fund, $2 million endowment to provide full scholarships for low-income students over the next 10 years. The paperwork sat in the school's legal department, waiting for the formal announcement scheduled for graduation day. Sophia Torres was supposed to be the first recipient honored at the ceremony, with her father presenting the scholarship as a surprise. Principal Ashford had no idea that while she was banning Miguel from graduation, she was actually banning the school's largest donor and the man whose money was about to save Westmont Academy from the financial crisis that she'd been trying to hide from the board for 6 months. Have you ever watched someone destroy their own future while trying to protect their pride? Let's go back 17 years to understand how we got here. Miguel Torres immigrated to Boston from El Salvador at age 17 with $200 in his pocket, basic English, and a work ethic inherited from parents who taught him that dignity came from honest labor, not from how much money you had. He'd started cleaning office buildings at night, 8 per hour, no benefits, cash under the table. He was invisible to the business people who'd work late, just another brown face pushing a mop cart through their prestigious hallways. He'd met Carmen Rodriguez at a church social when he was 22. She was studying nursing. He was learning business management at community college during the day while cleaning offices at night. They married 6 months later in a small ceremony with 30 friends packed into a 1-bedroom apartment. eating food they'd cooked themselves because they couldn't afford catering. Sophia was born 2 years after that. Miguel remembered holding his infant daughter at 3:00 a.m. before heading out to his night shift, promising her that she'd have opportunities he never did, that she'd go to the best schools, that she'd never have to apologize for where she came from. When Sophia was 8, Carmen was killed by a drunk driver 3 blocks from their apartment. Miguel became a single father overnight, working nights cleaning buildings, trying to be present for school plays and parent-teacher conferences, running on 4 hours of sleep and determination. But something else happened after Carmen's death. Miguel took the $50,000 from Carmen's life insurance and the lawsuit settlement and did something risky. He bought his first commercial cleaning contract. 1 building, 5 employees. An LLC filed with the Massachusetts Secretary of State. Torres Building Services. He worked harder than he'd ever worked, got more contracts, hired more employees, treated them well, paid above minimum wage, offered health benefits, created a culture where janitors and cleaning staff had dignity and respect. 12 years later, Torres Building Services was one of the largest commercial cleaning companies in Boston. Miguel owned the company outright, no investors, no debt. He wore the same coveralls as his employees because he believed in leading by example. He still showed up to job sites, still scrubbed floors alongside his crew, still remembered what it felt like to be invisible. But he'd saved every dollar he could for Sophia. When she tested into Westmont Academy, one of 5 students accepted from public schools on need-based scholarships, Miguel had been so proud he'd cried. His daughter, studying alongside children of senators and CEOs. His daughter, who inherited her mother's brilliance and her father's determination. For 4 years, Sophia excelled at Westmont. She made honor roll every semester, joined debate team, volunteered at homeless shelters on weekends. She never complained about being one of the few students whose parent didn't drive a Mercedes, who didn't summer in the Hamptons, who didn't have connections to Ivy League legacies. But Miguel noticed how she was treated differently. How other parents didn't include her in study groups at their homes. How teachers sometimes seemed surprised that she was doing well, as if excellence from a scholarship kid was unexpected. And he especially noticed Principal Victoria Ashford's attitude, the way she'd smile at wealthy parents and donors, while barely acknowledging families like Miguel's. 2 months ago, the Westmont Academy Board of Trustees had approached Miguel. Not because they knew he was successful, they still thought he was just a janitor, but because one board member, Robert Chin, had used Torres Building Services for his own office building and knew the truth. Miguel, Robert had said over coffee, "Westmont's in trouble. Enrollment's down 23 because of the recession. We're running a deficit. We need a major donor to establish a scholarship fund that'll attract more students and generate positive publicity. I know you've done well. Would you consider helping?" Miguel had thought about all the times he'd been made to feel less than because he cleaned buildings instead of owning them. He'd thought about Sophia being the only scholarship kid in her grade. He'd thought about other kids like her who'd never get the chance because schools like Westmont only wanted students whose parents could pay full tuition. He'd written a check for $2 million. The Torres Family Scholarship Fund would provide full 4-year scholarships to 5 students per year from low-income backgrounds. The announcement was scheduled for graduation day, with Sophia being honored as the first recipient and with Miguel presenting the award. It was supposed to be the proudest moment of his life, showing his daughter that hard work paid off. That success wasn't measured by how you looked, but by what you built. That immigrants and janitors and single fathers could change lives. Then, 4 days before graduation, Principal Ashford had called him into her office and told him he was banned from attending. Miguel sat in her office now, processing the surreal cruelty of being told he was too embarrassing to watch his own daughter graduate from a school he'd just donated $2 million to save. "Principal Ashford," he said carefully, You're telling me I can't attend my daughter's graduation because of how I look? Because of optics, Mr. Torres? Surely you understand I understand that you're ashamed of me, Miguel said, his voice quiet but steady. You're ashamed that I clean buildings for a living, that I wear coveralls instead of suits, that I have an accent and brown skin and don't fit your idea of what a Westmont parent should look like. Victoria's face flushed slightly. That's not what I said, it's exactly what you said. Miguel stood. You know what? I've been judged my whole life by people who think they're better because they have money or degrees or the right last name. I've been invisible to people like you for 30 years. And I was okay with that because I knew my worth wasn't determined by whether you saw me. He walked toward the door, then turned back. But telling me I'm too embarrassing to watch my own daughter accept her diploma? That crosses a line, Principal Ashford. I'm sorry you feel that way, Victoria said, not sounding sorry at all. But my decision stands. You're welcome to celebrate with Sophia privately after the ceremony. Miguel left without another word. He sat in his truck in the parking lot for 10 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying to decide what to do. Part of him wanted to march back in there and tell her exactly who he was, that her school was surviving on his money, that she'd just insulted the man paying for 5 kids' educations for the next decade. But another part, the part that remembered being a 17-year-old immigrant cleaning toilets for $8 per hour, didn't want to prove his worth through money. He wanted to be enough just as he was. Sophia's father. He made 2 phone calls. First to Robert Chen. Robert, I need you to delay the scholarship announcement at graduation. Don't mention my name. Just say an anonymous donor has established a fund. We'll do the official announcement later. Robert sounded confused. Miguel, this is your moment. Why just trust me? I'll explain later. Second call to his lawyer. I need you to add a condition to the Torres Scholarship Fund. Any student who receives this scholarship must be accompanied at graduation by at least 1 family member, regardless of that family member's occupation, appearance, or socioeconomic status. And I want that condition legally binding. His lawyer paused. That's unusual, but I can draft it. May I ask why? Because no kid should ever be ashamed of their parents, Miguel said. And no parent should ever be told they're too embarrassing to watch their child succeed. Graduation day arrived bright and clear. Westmont Academy's lawn looked like a postcard, white chairs arranged in perfect rows, a stage decorated with the school colors of blue and gold, a massive banner reading "Congratulations Class of 2024. Miguel watched from his truck parked across the street, using binoculars to see the ceremony he'd been banned from attending. He could see Sophia in her graduation gown, sitting with her class, probably wondering why her father wasn't there. He told her he had to work, that he'd see her after. He hadn't told her about the ban. Didn't want her to know how her principal really felt about him. The ceremony proceeded with typical private school pageantry. The valedictorian spoke about following dreams. The guest speaker, a former ambassador, talked about leadership. Principal Ashford beamed at the audience, probably relieved that no embarrassing janitor was ruining the optics. Then Robert Chen took the stage for the scholarship announcement. It's my honor, he said, his voice carrying across the lawn, to announce a new initiative that will change Westmont Academy's future. An anonymous donor has established the Torres Family Scholarship Fund, a $2 million endowment that will provide full 4-year scholarships to students from low-income backgrounds, starting with 5 scholarships this year. The audience murmured with approval. Wealthy parents nodded, appreciating the school's commitment to diversity. Our first recipient, Robert continued, is Sophia Torres, who will be attending Yale University this fall. Sophia stood, surprised and delighted, walking to the stage to accept a certificate and shake Robert's hand. Miguel watched through his binoculars, tears running down his face. His daughter, his brilliant daughter who'd earned every bit of this success. Robert wasn't done. The donor has requested that I read a statement. This scholarship exists because I believe every child deserves opportunities regardless of their parents' income or occupation. I believe that a student's worth isn't measured by their family's wealth, but by their character and determination. And I believe that no parent should ever be made to feel ashamed of honest work, or told they're too embarrassing to watch their child succeed. A ripple of confused murmurs went through the audience. What an odd statement. Therefore, Robert continued, his voice growing stronger, this scholarship comes with one binding condition. Any student who receives the Torah scholarship must be accompanied at all graduation ceremonies by at least one family member, regardless of that family member's occupation, income level, or appearance, because this scholarship is built on the principle that families matter more than optics. The murmurs grew louder. Several parents were whispering, putting pieces together. Principal Ashford's face had gone pale. She was smart enough to understand something had just happened, but not quite smart enough to figure out what. Robert delivered the final blow. I should also note that the Torres Family Scholarship Fund is the largest single donation in Westmont Academy's 107-year history, and it comes with the donor's requirement that the school publicly recognize the value and dignity of all families, regardless of socioeconomic status. He paused, looking directly at Principal Ashford. The donor wants the Westmont community to understand that true prestige comes from character, not from bank accounts. Principal Ashford stood abruptly, walking backstage. She knew. She'd just been publicly called out for her classism, her snobbery, her decision to ban a parent who just donated $2 million to save her school. After the ceremony, as families milled around taking photos, Robert Chen found Miguel still watching from across the street. You should be here, Robert said. This is your victory. My victory is Sophia going to Yale, Miguel replied. The rest is just noise. You know the board's calling an emergency meeting, right? About Ashford's behavior. About what she did to you. Miguel shrugged. That's between them and her. I just wanted to make sure no other parent gets treated like I did. 2 weeks later, Principal Victoria Ashford resigned. The official statement cited philosophical differences with the board regarding school culture. The real reason quietly circulated among parents was that she'd banned the school's largest donor from his daughter's graduation without knowing who he was, revealing a classism so deep it had nearly destroyed the school's reputation. The new principal's first act was issuing a formal apology to Miguel Torres and inviting him to a private ceremony where Sophia was officially honored as the first Torres scholar. At that ceremony, Miguel stood with his daughter in front of 50 people, board members, teachers, students wearing the same coveralls he'd worn to his meeting with Ashford. But this time, no one looked at him with contempt. They looked at him with respect. My father, Sophia said in her speech, taught me that dignity isn't about what you wear or how much money you have. It's about showing up every day, doing honest work, and treating people with respect. He's cleaned floors in buildings where people didn't even see him. But he saw them. He saw their worth. And now, through this scholarship, he's making sure other kids like me get seen too. She turned to Miguel, tears streaming down her face. Dad, you're not an embarrassment. You're my hero. Miguel pulled his daughter into a hug, and the room erupted in applause. 3 months later, 5 students from low-income backgrounds enrolled at Westmont Academy on Torres scholarships. Their parents attended orientation: a construction worker, a home health aide, a grocery store cashier, a bus driver, and a restaurant cook. The new principal welcomed each of them personally, thanking them for trusting Westmont with their children's education. The school created a new policy. All families, regardless of background, would be treated with equal dignity and respect. Staff members who violated this policy would face immediate termination. The culture began to shift from prestige based on wealth to prestige based on character. Miguel continued running Torres Building Services, still wearing his coveralls, still showing up at job sites. But he also started speaking at schools and community organizations about immigration, entrepreneurship, and parental dignity. His message was simple. Don't let anyone make you feel small because of what you do or where you came from. Your worth isn't determined by their prejudice. It's determined by your character. And every year, at Westmont Academy graduation, 5 new Torres scholars walked across the stage, each accompanied by at least one family member who might be wearing work clothes or uniforms or outfits that didn't fit the Westmont profile. And every year, those family members sat in the front row, honored guests at a ceremony that finally understood what true prestige looked like. Sometimes the person you exclude is the one holding your future in their hands. Sometimes the parent you call embarrassing is the one who'll save your school. And sometimes the man in coveralls is worth more than everyone in suits combined, not because of his bank account, but because of his character. If this story reminded you that worth isn't measured by appearance, and that every parent deserves respect regardless of their job or income, hit that subscribe button. Share this with someone who's ever been made to feel less than because of what they do or where they come from. Drop a comment about a time you were underestimated and prove them wrong. Your story matters. Your work matters. And your worth has nothing to do with whether wealthy people approve of you.